and that's called username. So if that is set, it means that we have passed a variable to this page called username inside of the post variable set. So we can now redefine the username variable, $_post username. Now it's important to note that because we're querying a database and we're going to be inserting this value into the query, we need to apply the relevant security. So we're going to apply MySQL real escape string to this just to help prevent SQL injection. Okay, so now what we want to do is we first of all want to check if the username is not empty. So we use if not empty username. Then we want to go ahead and do something. So we want to create a query that's going to return a count of the amount of usernames where they match. So we create a query called username query, and this is equal to a MySQL query. Now the query is as follows. We want to select count, and we want to count a field from our table. So I'm going to be counting user ID. It doesn't matter which field that you pick, it will just literally return a count. So I'm going to select count user ID from users. Remember, our table is called users, and that's where username, so the username field just here, is equal to, and then in single quotation marks, username. So we're taking this value here and passing it to this query here, and we're now going to check what the result of this query is. So this will return a number. Now if the number is equal to 1, that means that the username exists in the database. Assuming that we are inserting unique records into the database, I generated some code that put 60,768 unique records into this table. So we don't have the same username twice. So as long as your registration script, or however you're registering a user, actually checks beforehand that the username is unique, will only ever return a 0 or a 1 from this query. So we need to check first of all if the query returns a 0 or a 1, and we need to grab a result for that. So I'm going to say username result, that's equal to MySQL result. We need to supply two parameters here, the original query and the row count, so, or the row referencing, which is 0, because it will return one row, which is row 0, with the count. We now need to create a simple if statement. In fact, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just echo this username result out. Now let's go ahead over to our main page, and I'm going to go ahead and type Alex. Now that's returned a 0 automatically, so this is echoing out this here, which is equal to a 0. Let's go over to our database table and find a value here. We've got Alex840. So what happens if I type Alex840? We then return a 1, and that means that this username is taken inside of here. We've got Alex840 just here. We can try this with all of the other records as well. It doesn't matter, it will always return a 1. So we could go ahead, for example, and say Dale1481, and we could type in Dale I forgot the number, A181481, so 1481, and that will return a 1 as well, because that's taken. So now what we can do is we can create an if statement just to check this number, and then we can return the appropriate textual representation of what we have just discussed, the overall concept. So if username result is equal to 0, which means that the username isn't taken, we can echo that, or just say username available. Else, and we want to create another condition, if username result equals 1 or is equal to 1, we want to echo, sorry, that username is taken. Okay, so now instead of a 1 or a 0, we've returned the appropriate textual representation of the concept we spoke about. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and start to type ALEX. It's not returning anything. Let's just check why that might be. Oh, sorry, else if username result is equal to 1. and again. Okay, so now it says username available when I type Alex. Let's go ahead and pick another one. So let's go for the shortest one that I can remember. There's quite long ones. Let's just go ahead and copy and paste this one into here. When we paste it in, sorry, that username is taken. So we have successfully created a back-end piece of code in username check.php which checks and returns these values. jQuery handles the event itself. It handles taking the value from this and passing it to our username check file, and then it returns it into the appropriate div or element on our page, which happens to be this span just next to here. So by implementing this into a registration script, it's an easy way to allow the user to instantly see if a particular username is available.